X over 5 plus 7 equals -3. How do I isolate the variable? How do I get X all by itself? Well, I have something attached to my X and I have something added to my stuff. So I'm going to always get rid of the thing that's floating around first. -7, -7, cross U out. That brings down X over 5 equals -3 minus 7. I owe $3. Now I owe them $10 or $7, so it's $10. Screwed that up. Now, a lot of people might say divide by 5, and you would be wrong. You don't divide by 5. What's 5 currently doing to X? Multiplying. Dividing. What's 5 currently doing to X? Dividing. So what's the opposite? Multiply both sides by 5. By the way, if you haven't done so already, quick check your email now. I emailed everybody the notes to this chapter. So if you have a printer at home and your parents like, sure, go ahead, kill as many trees as you want. I emailed the chapter 7 notes to you like at 11 or maybe 10-ish this morning. Make sure you click on the one that says POA chapter 7. Don't click on the one that says Geo for Geometry chapter 3. You would be in the wrong class and it would not look right at all. What's -10 times 5? -50. All I did was got rid of the 7 first by doing the opposite, subtracted from both sides, and then got rid of the 5 second by doing the opposite, which is multiply 5, and I get -50. What we're going to talk about today is square roots. Oh, that's so funny. It's a bunch of roots, and it's square. Oh, that's good. That's good. That's fun. That's funny. That's good. Chapter 7, finding square roots. What does a square root mean? A square root means what number times itself gives you whatever number is living underneath the square root. So a square root is that little check marky looking thing. And if I say square root of 8, you have to think what number times itself gives me 8. Square root of 10, what number times itself gives me 10? Square root of 100, what number times itself gives me 100? So on and so forth. If you take the square root of a perfect square, you know, it's funny. Perfect and Perich start out with the same letters. How much truth that is. That says perfect square, as you can clearly see. If you take the square root of a perfect square, you get an integer. I highly implore, I beg of you, memorize these numbers. These numbers are the perfect squares that I'm about to write down. 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100, 121, 144, 169, 196, 225. Those are the perfect squares. Those are the only numbers those are the only numbers from 1 to 225 that you can take the square root of and get a nice answer. The only numbers. What's this? So what, when I ask you what the square root is, when I say, what's the square root then? The square root of 1 means what number times itself gives you 1? Well, the square root of 1 is 1. What number times itself gives you 4? 2. What times what gives you 9? 3. What times what gives you 16? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You guessed it. 11, 12. You'll never guess what's next. 13, 14, 15. And if I give you one and you're not sure about it, what's the square root of 196?
The square root of 196 is 14.
Or you can ax Alaska. You can ax Alaska. Ax Alaska. Or ax Home Google. You should be able to have these numbers memorized. If I say, what's the square root of 81? 9. What's the square root of 144? 12. What's the square root of 25? 5. What's the square root of 196? 14. You probably have all of these numbers memorized already. 121 has the ones on the outsides. That's 11. 144, you probably already know that 12 times 12 is 144 because of those dozens. 169, that's 169. And 196. 169, 196, flip the numbers. And 225 is 15. Memorize them. Memorize those. Memorize them. Memorize those. I should be able to close my eyes when I go to bed. Before I go to bed tonight, I should close my eyes and go 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100. Did I miss one? No. 100, 121. 144, 169, 196, 225. I think I got them. I feel like I missed one, but maybe I didn't. I don't know. And that is, by the way, what I do before I go to bed every night. I say my prayers, I brush my teeth, and I count my perfect squares. If I ask you to find the square root, you just do exactly what I said. Now, in the first problem, you have a fraction. No big deal. You just take each part. What times itself gives you 1? 1. What times itself gives you 16? 4. So the square root of 1 over 16 is 1 over 4. Done. Square root. Well, the negative's on the outside, so I'll put that negative there. Square root of 1,600. There's no way it could be 40.
The square root of 1,640 is approximate.
What's the square root of 1,600?
The square root of 1,600 is 40.
Oh, that's because the square root of 16 is 4. And the square root of 100 is 10. So 1600s is negative 40. Since the negative lived on the outside, I brought it down with me. Since the negative lived on the outside, I brought it down with me. Well, this is something that's not in Mr. Perich's wacky chart. What's the square root of 625? It's 25.
The square root of 625 is 25.
So if you have a fraction, take the square root of the numerator, take the square root of the denominator. If you have a symbol on the outside, bring it out. If it's a number you're not sure about, like these two numbers, maybe you weren't sure about these two numbers, then ask Siri, ask a calculator. You could even probably go to Google right now and type in, what's the square root of 625? And it'll tell you. There's probably, I bet you if I were to go right now and type out square root calculator, let's see, square root calculator. Oh, it gives me a calculator. What do I do? 16. Do I do the square root first or second? Nope, do the square root first. So let's clear that. Clear. The square root of 1600. Ew. What if I put the negative in front of it? Oh, clear, 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 clear. Ah! Well, you get the idea. Let's go to that next slide after I bring the thing back. Let me see. Negatives on the outside, so you bring it out. I know what the square root of 225 is. It's 15. So is the square root of 2.25 1.5? I don't know. That's my guess. What's negative square root of 2.25?
The answer is negative 1.5.
There's a negative on the outside there. Bring it out. What's the square? Oh, I have a fraction. So take the square root of the top, 3. And take the square root of the bottom, 10. Done. The heck is that symbol? That's brand new. I've never seen that symbol before. Oh, that symbol up there means positive. Posit, like the shoes that I have over there. Oh, positive. Or negative. We'll talk in a little bit of what that symbol actually means. But that symbol, you just bring it down. Don't overthink it. What's the square root of 196? 14. So positive or negative square root of 196 is positive or negative 14. Just bring it down. All of these had a symbol out in front of the square root, and all we did was brought it down. Find the 2 square roots. Remember that symbol that I told you about? Every number has 2 square roots. And the way we write that out is we write out the positive or negative symbol in front of it. Because if I wrote out positive 9, that means positive 9 or negative 9. So if I ask you to find the 2 square roots of 144, the answer is positive or negative square root of 144 is 12. Positive or negative 8. Positive or negative 9. If I give you just the symbol, like I did in these last problems, if I give you just the symbol, you don't have to worry about throwing the positive or negative in front of it. If I ask you to find the 2 square roots, you have to do the positive or negative in front of it. Dumb rule. Dumb bull. A square root is used to undo a square. For example, if I want to undo a square, the way I get rid of that is I square root it. The square root and a square cancel each other out. If I want to undo a square, I square root it. The square root and the square cancel each other out. So wait a minute. I remember that the area of a square is s squared. So if I wanted to find the area of or if I wanted to find the side of a square, all I have to do is square root that, because I just undo a square. So if I give you the area of a square, you take that area, and to find the side, you square root it. The square root. And in fact, I'm going to go one step further. Watch what I do. Watch what I do. Watch what I do. Watch what I do. My area is not just 81. My area is 81 yards squared. So if I want to take the square root of both of those, the square root of 81 is 9. And the square root of yards squared, the square root and the yards, the squared part cancel each other out. And I'm left with 9 yards. The area is given to you in yards squared, inches squared, square inches, square feet, whatever squared. The side is not. So when I take the square root of the whole thing, I get rid of the squareds on everything. So, all right, let's do that again. I have 4/9 feet squared. I'm going to square root both of those because those are two different things. The square root of 4 is 2. The square root of 9 is 3. And the square root of foot squared is foot. Quick put in the chat what the square root of 225 is, if you remember. In the chat, tell me what the square root of 225 is, please. Thank you, Alex. It is 15. That's it. Easy. If you're wondering, do they call squares squares because you square things to get the area? Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, this is just one of those important things that we're going to have to remember, and you're going to see on tests from time to time. And I'm going to remind you all the time, but you're just going to have to remember. When using a square root to solve an equation, look at those all caps. When using a square root to solve an equation, you must always include a positive or negative sign. Why? Well, let me give you an easy problem. X squared equals 9. This is saying what number times itself is 9. And most of us know one of the answers right away. 3 times itself is 9. But there's another answer. What number times itself is 9? Negative 3 times itself is 9, because a negative times a negative is a positive. So negative 3 times negative 3 is 9. So we get 2 answers. So if someone said, solve that, sir, I'm thinking, okay, well, is x all by itself? No. What's in the way? Squared. How do I undo a square? Square root both sides. And you square root both sides. And don't forget, when using a square root to solve an equation, you must always include the positive or negative symbol. That crosses out. X equals positive or negative 3. Mm-hmm. 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 It's just something we're going to have to remember, because there's 2 answers. All right. All right, solve for x. What I have here is I have to use square roots because x is not alone. Yes, a 5's in the way, and that's easy to get rid of. Minus 5, cross that out. X squared equals 9. But now what? I have a squared in the way. How do I get rid of a squared? By square rooting, of course. Now, if you square root both sides and you have a regular number over here, you have to attach a positive or a negative to that number. So x does not equal the square root of 9, just 3. X equals positive 3 or negative 3. The reason why that is if I wanted to plug this into x squared and do some math, 3 times 3 is 9, and 9 plus 5 is 14. But also, negative 3 times negative 3 is 9, and 9 plus 5 is 14. I have two answers, both 3 and negative 3. There it is. Wow, that's exciting. Thank you, Mr. Perich. Now, let's actually do some problems. I have two problems here, which is 97 short of how many Jay-Z had. And let's try to do exactly what I did in the video. Is x all by itself? No. What's in the way? Squared. See, I have x squared equals 100. Is x alone? No. When it says solve, my job is always to get x all by itself. So if squared is in the way, then I have to undo a square. And the way I undo a square is I square root both sides. I square root both sides. Remember, if you square root both sides to solve an equation, you have to include the positive or negative symbol. So x, that cancels out, equals positive or negative square root of 110. Is D all by itself? No. What's in the way? Negative 22, a Taylor Swift special. How do I get rid of negative 22? I do the opposite of negative 22 and add 22 to both sides. Add 22 to both sides. 42 plus 22 is 64, and that's going to equal D squared. Is D all alone by itself now? No. What's in the way? Squared. How do I undo a square? Square root it. So remember, when you use the square root to solve both sides, to solve an equation, you have to attach a positive or negative symbol. So my answer is not 8. My answer is positive or negative 8. And I'm going to flip it around because I don't like my variable on the right side. D equals positive or negative 8. Hmm. Is Z all by itself? No. What's in the way? 4 and squared. Which one should I get rid of first? 4. So I'm going to divide both sides by 4. Cross you out. That gives me Z squared equals, I think it's 36. What's 144 divided by 4?
The answer is 36.
Is Z all by itself? No. What's in the way? Squared. How do I get rid of a squared? Square root both sides. Remember, when you square root both sides to solve an equation, you have to attach a positive or negative symbol. So that crosses out. Z equals positive or negative. What's the square root of 36 in the chat? What's the square root of 36 in the chat? What's the square root of 36, huh? What is it? What is it, you Slimers? Slimers from Ghostbusters. This is weird. Now, you probably won't ever see a problem like this again, but let's just try it. I have 2 h squareds. 2 of them. Well, let's do this. Why don't I move that h squared to the left by subtracting it from both sides? Minus h squared. If I have 3 h squareds and I take away one of those h squareds, I have 2 h squareds. Is 18 by itself? or I'm sorry, is X, is H all by itself? No. What's in the way? 2 and this squared. Let's get rid of the big 2 first by dividing it by 2. Ooh, and that number is going to make me glad. H squared equals 9. Is H all by itself now? No, because squared's in the way. What do? Square root both sides. Remember, when you square root both sides to solve an equation, you have to attach the positive or negative symbol. So H is going to equal positive or negative 3. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's right. So let's take a look at this, and I'll put a poll up, and I'll give you guys 1 minute to see if that person did it right or wrong. I'll read through it. Right or wrong. Right or wrong. Right or wrong. Right or wrong. So a poll is up. Make sure you go to the chat thing, click on the thing with the 3 boxes. This is what this guy did. He said, is X all by itself? No. Let's get rid of 9. So he got rid of 9. I guess he divided both sides by 9. He took the square root of both sides and attached the positive or negative symbol and ended up with positive or negative 2. Is that correct? I'm going to close my eyes for 30 seconds. $15, $14, $13, $12, $11, $10, $9, $8, $7, $6, $5, $4, $3, $2, $1. End the poll. That's right. So if you said right, so are you. If you said wrong, so are you. That, ladies and gentlemen, concludes this lesson. The lesson is over.